real, you guys. This is my real life. Hello, welcome to this Airbnb setup we've got going here. I am currently quarantined at an Airbnb in Toronto. The day you're seeing this, I get out tomorrow. Very exciting. Tomorrow's my first day of freedom, which means tomorrow is the first day I get to hug my dad, see my dad in over 10 months. So I'm very excited, but I've been on a strict 14-day lockdown here. When you enter Canada, you can only come if you're Canadian or if you have like a special exemption to travel here. And once you get here, you have to spend 14 days on like a full lockdown, to the point where like I can't even step outside the front door. I mean, for 10 months now, I haven't been leaving my house, but now we truly haven't been leaving the house at all. So it's been fun, excited to get out and be able to see my dad. Very, very happy. But this is our kind of bland setup we've got going here. I apologize. The next video you see will be coming out on the 24th, Christmas Eve, and that is where I try to decorate a gingerbread house. The door is a bit of a struggle bus, as you were just seeing. And that was pre-filmed in LA. So my next video is in LA, and then the rest of the videos that you'll see this month are here in the Airbnb. And then in January, there's one pre-filmed from LA. So we're gonna be all over the place here. My apologies, but we appreciate you sticking with it. A few weeks back, I posted this video right here where I shared my experience attending a school for the blind for 2 years. If you haven't watched that video, I'd recommend go checking that video out first, so you have all the context about my experience. And this is a dedicated follow-up Q&A. So every question I answer in this video is about my experience at the School for the Blind. I had you guys comment on that video your questions, so that's where I'm pulling the questions from. Thank you to everybody who submitted questions. We have almost 400 questions, so we won't be able to get to all of them for obvious reasons, but thank you guys for the interest, and I definitely plan to make more videos about my experience at the school. So if anything I talk about in this video piques your interest or you'd like to hear more about, please let me know, because I'm happy to make more videos on the topic. Also, my last video was obviously very emotional and very difficult for me to post, so I appreciate the outpouring of love and support for both Gallup and I, and for Mira. A lot of you have been asking where you can donate directly to Mira, which again, I can't thank you enough. No pressure at all, but if you're looking for somewhere to donate to this holiday season, I will leave the link at the top of the description box. It is www.mira.ca/en, so it shows up in English unless you're French. Then just do mira.ca, it'll be French. And my hoodie, this hoodie right here, the blue one with Gallup, sold out that night, which is crazy. So that hoodie will not be coming back ever. It was limited edition, and 100% of the proceeds are being donated to Mira. Because it sold out like that, and I was not expecting it, I now have this mug out with 100% of sales being donated. So on the front, it has Gallup in his bee costume, and it says "Life's Short," and then on the back, in big letters, it just says "Take naps." All sales are being donated to Mira, so check that out. That's all I have to say on that. Thank you again so much for all the love and support. I can't thank you enough. It really means the world to me during what has been an overwhelmingly challenging year. So, all right, to the questions. Neve Burke will be reading them out. Question number 1, Neve.
I like this one. Were the teachers blind too?
Most of the teachers were not blind, but we did have some blind staff.
What were the teachers like?
I mean, the teachers were like any teachers, you know. There was incredible teachers and there was like meh teachers. You have to read it, Mom.
Oh, sorry. Did you have any inside jokes about sighted people?
Yeah, absolutely. We would laugh about sighted people things and the things that sighted people do and the things that sighted people would say all the time. Yeah, absolutely. And one of my favorite things that my blind girlfriends and I would do, because I did have some blind girlfriends, they were all older than me though, so none of them were in my grade. So like my classmates were all male and they were like my friends that I would hang out with during class, but then I had female friends that were older than me in the grades above me that I would hang out with like at lunch and stuff. So my female friends and I would all go blind high fives, and we would just like smack the air until we hit each other's hands, and that was always really funny. And we would do these things like, because sighted people always ask silly questions like, oh, can I not say see you later? And we're like, no, it's fine, you can say see you later, like you can use the same vernacular, you don't have to like change for us, it's fine. And so we would like make a joke out of that, and so we'd always be like, smell you later, hear you later. Like we would always make like jokes about the silly things sighted people would say like that.
Did a lot of people have guide dogs?
No, this is a story time I kind of think I want to tell. So when I went to the school, it was only me and one other student, and that was because the school for the blind actually said that you weren't allowed to have a guide dog in boarding. And as I stated in my first video, majority of students had to board. So basically, they weren't allowed to get guide dogs, which yes, in fact is against the law. So I fought that. So if you'd like to hear that whole story and the end result of me fighting them on that, let me know and I can do a whole story time.
I'm curious how different it is to learn mathematics as a blind person. Is it harder to visualize certain concepts?
So I learned math through Nemeth code, which is basically Braille math. I did all of my math in Braille the whole time. Doing math on VoiceOver on a laptop just isn't really possible. It's possible, but it's not as easy. So my whole schooling did Braille through Nemeth code. Wow, Molly, good one. Did math through Nemeth code, and it was very difficult. I struggled with math. Science was my worst subject. It's the only subject I ever almost failed. Math was the subject I disliked the most after science. I really did not like math. I had to try really hard at math. That said, I did always do very well in math somehow. I always managed to get like 80s in math, but it wasn't easy for me. I put a lot of work in to get the 80s in math. My legs are falling asleep.
Why did the floors need high contrast colors if you were all blind?
So, I mean, I've talked about this so many times on this channel. Blindness is a spectrum. It is not just darkness. A lot of blind people have remaining vision. And so high color contrast is incredibly important for people with low vision. White on black, things like that is high color contrast. And so a lot of people with very low vision, not very much remaining vision, need high color contrast to be able to navigate. And it's just a very helpful, useful tool. So that is why our floors had high color contrast.
Did you play goalball?
In our gym class, that was a gym unit we had, which was kind of fun. That's certainly different. Most gym classes don't have goalball as a gym unit. For those who don't know, goalball is a sport that blind people play. I plan to do a whole dedicated video about goalball, but obviously the world shut down, so I can't. But one day, I promise you, I will be doing a whole goalball video. I'll link some info below about goalball in case you want to learn more about it before I do that video. We did do a goalball unit every year, and I hated it because all my classmates were boys, and I was an incredibly petite female. And so all of these boys like to use all their full strength to whip the ball. And if you know anything about goalball, to stop the ball, you stop it with your body. So you lay on the ground with your arms above your head stretched out and your legs fully stretched out. And I was always terrified that the big, thick, heavy ball was gonna smash me in the face and break my teeth or my nose. So I was not a fan of the goalball unit.
I like this one. What was dating and flirting like at the School for the Blind? Did people at school date each other?
Oh, yes. People got down, let me tell you, okay? There was just as much of that happening as any other high school had, all right? That's all I'm gonna say. People really went for it. Look, they're all living together, you know? So things went down 100%. And yes, there was much dating. There was much flirting that happened. And as I mentioned in my initial video, I was dating somebody outside of school. So I had a sighted boyfriend. I did a live stream on Instagram the other day, and one of my old bandmates joined, and it was so fun. But I was in a pop punk rock band when I was 14, 15, 16. I have done reaction videos where I react to my old band music, so feel free to go watch that. I think they're hilarious and cringy. But yes, I was in a rock band. I was the lead singer, and I dated the lead guitar player, a classic love story. And so I was in a relationship we started dating early February, late January of my grade 9 year. So I was in a relationship with him for most of my grade 9 year and then the beginning of my grade 10 year. So I was kind of off the market, if you will. But if you also watch that first video, you know I was the only female in my class and all my classmates were male. And so once my boyfriend and I broke up in grade 10.
And you'd won Miss Teen Canada.
Yes. I had just won Miss Teen Canada International. I had broken up with my boyfriend. I had like 4 male friends that I was really close with. And one of them was in a relationship and the other 3 decided they all wanted to date me.
Got kind of stressful.
Got real stressful.
It was so stressful between the breakup, the Miss Teen Canada International.
Which Miss Teen Canada International was a whole pile of... That whole thing was a hot mess. I gave up my title to my runner-up, Sunit Man. It's a whole thing. You can check out the Wikipedia for Miss Teen Canada International. See that I won 2009-2010 crown, but I gave it up to my runner-up. I will one day tell that whole story. I have to check on my NDA that I signed, what I'm allowed to say, all that jazz. So like, I just won the pageant, but we were figuring out the whole thing, and I was giving up my title, and then my boyfriend and I broke up. Then
giving up the title, don't remind me.
Yes.
Molly, your life.
This is all real, you guys. This is my real life.
This is like always what Molly's life is like.
Okay, so then 3 of my 4 friends were all like, she's single, and I was like, no. And I'm going through my first heartbreak. This guy was my first love. I was definitely in love with him, and he broke my heart. But joke's on him, he came crawling back years later, and I said, you lost your chance, sorry. No hard feelings on either side, I don't think. Definitely not on mine. I'm over it. So I was going through my first ever heartbreak, walking down the halls, listening to 15 by Taylor Swift and being like, yes, when somebody does tell you they love you, you're gonna believe it when you're 15. My only people that I had, my best friends, were all now like hitting on me. And the one who had a boyfriend would like, or the one who had a girlfriend, the only guy who was like in a relationship, he would like be like, keep score, you know? He'd be like, oh, that was a good one. Or like, oh no, minus a point, that wasn't good. Like it was so weird, it was so funny. At the time it was incredibly stressful. I would like go home and cry and my mom being like, I don't have friends, they all just hit on me. And it was really weird. And then I like briefly considered dating my best friend because he had just spent 2 years, you know, flirting with me. And I was like, fine, I'll give in. And then it didn't go anywhere. So that was that. So quite a scenario, quite a situation I was in, quite the predicament. But yes, flirting and dating and was very much happening at the school.
What was the like, better or worse than the private school?
So if you didn't know, I went to a private school for grades 7 and 8 and I lost my vision, most of my vision in grade 8, and I was very badly, and there was definitely I saw one question that I thought was really interesting because they pinpointed it exactly, and they asked like, was there a hierarchy between the people who had more vision and the people who had less? Absolutely. Usually the people who had more vision, like the more vision you had, like the cooler you ended up being oftentimes. Not always, but like a lot of the more sighted kids had like the power over the more blind kids. You know, the reality is just like I was in normal schools, a lot of these other kids were also in normal schools, so then they could come to a school where they were now the cooler ones. They were now on top. They now had something that the other kids didn't. And so there was definitely in that way. I faced in grade 10 after winning Miss Teen Canada International, and that was really, really difficult. And I can talk about that story a bit. The girl and I are on good terms, and I think it's actually like a really positive story. I'm really proud of her. She's doing incredible things, and I hope she's proud of me. But we're on like, I would say we're on really good terms now. I really like her. I have no hard feelings. If anything, I have like very positive feelings towards her. It's my most positive experience with a bully turned friend. So if you guys want a dedicated story on that, let me know. But yes, I was, and definitely there is at the School for the Blind, and there is that like more sighted to less sighted hierarchy, I would say. In my experience, just to say, all of this is talking about one School for the Blind. This is not all schools. This is the school that I went to, and this is also from my perspective, from my experience, and I only went there for 2 years. So keep all of that in mind.
Great questions, eh?
Yeah.
How much did it cost?
The school's free. It's government funded, so the school was free for people to attend.
Did you have things such as school dances, extracurricular clubs, etc.? If so, how was it different from your private school?
Yes, there was dances, there was extracurricular clubs and sports. However, I could not participate in any of it because I was not a boarding student. So the moment school was out, I had to get on a bus and go an hour and a half home. So I didn't get to do any of it, unfortunately.
Do you believe your life would have been different had you had the support from those friends that turned you away because of your disability?
My life certainly would have been different, but I don't know in what way, right? Like, I was still at school for the blind, and who's to say I wouldn't have been back then? Or who's to say I wouldn't have been like, who knows? You don't know who you're going to turn out to be if your whole life circumstances and scenario changes. Because at the end of the day, if I had gone when I was younger, I would have been one of the kids with more sight, being on the higher end of that hierarchy. So I don't know who I would have been or what things would have been like. I'm happy I didn't. I'm very happy that I went when I did. If I could change anything, it would have been that I would have only gone for grade 9 and not grade 10.
So many good questions. It's hard.
I know. That's why I wanted to do like a dedicated follow-up.
What caused you to decide to go back to regular non-blind school? If you could go back in time, would you have transferred to the school for the blind sooner than you did, like perhaps during the 8th grade year, 2008? Why or why not?
I would not change a thing. I think regrets are a waste of time. No, I wouldn't go back and change a thing. I would not go sooner because the reality is the things that I experienced in grade 8, which were incredibly traumatizing, are the things that shaped who I am today, are the things that made me so passionate about talking about mental health, about talking about bullying. And so without those experiences, I would not be who I am today, and I would not probably maybe be doing what I'm doing today. So no, I don't regret a thing. Was what I went through horrific and awful and painful? Absolutely. I would not wish it on anybody, but it's also made me exactly who I am today, and who I am today is somebody I'm proud of, and I'm happy with the life I live and with the purpose that I have. So I wouldn't go back and change it. And I'm happy that I went back to a sighted school, and the reason that I chose to do that is because at the end of the day, going to a school for the blind is being segregated from the rest of society. Like, you're in a blind bubble where everybody else is blind or is specially trained to work with blind people, and you're in a physical space that was built for blind people to be accessible to you, and that is not normal. That's not real life. And so I feared that if I went for my whole grade, like through to grade 12 and then went off to college, I would be like hit like a truck with the reality of normal life again. I wanted to have like an easier transition where I was going like school for the blind, regular high school, big college. Obviously we now know I did not end up going to college. I ended up getting a career opportunity that I couldn't turn down.
A whole other story.
Which also is many stories. Many stories I can't express. I haven't been able to talk about it because I signed an NDA, but if you are here in Canada, I worked for Wii Charity and Me to Wii, and you have seen the whole pile of that has become recently gone up in flames as they deserve to. I was never able to openly talk about that experience and what happened to me there. There's a lot to it. They've been embroiled in scandal. I now know that if I come forward and tell my story, I feel stronger that it will be believed because so many other people have finally opened up. And I think so many of these people, like me, have not been able to speak because of either an NDA or just out of fear like I had. Fear of not being believed because they had such a positive public-facing image. Anyways, I've never been able to talk about it, but as of this spring to fall, they have really fallen, and I feel like I am now going to be able to more openly talk about that experience instead of people being like, oh my god, you toured on Wii Day? That's amazing, and me having to be like, I can now be like, ooh, actually, let me tell you the tea about that experience, because when I quit that job, I think a lot of people were really surprised because that was like a golden job, a golden opportunity to have. I was doing all these incredible things. Like I said, I don't live with regret. I wouldn't take it back. I would do it all over again, even knowing what I know now, because it did really set me up for my life and my career and teach me so much. But it was certainly not the positive experience that I think many people dreamed that it was. Final question. There are so many more questions that I could answer, but again, like, this video is so long. You guys really came through with the questions. So I'm gonna pin a comment again on this video asking like what videos you'd like to hear about this next, what topics that I talked about that interested you most. So comment as a reply to my pinned comment on this video, letting me know that.
Did you have locks in your locker, and if so, did you put, how did you put in the combination?
So this is a great question because most schools only allow combination locks, at least here in Canada. Every other school that I went to, I was exempt from that and they would allow me to have a key lock, but all the other students had to have combination locks. It was the same at the School for the Blind. They gave us all key locks. That's how we did it. But good question, because usually combination locks are the standard at schools here in Canada. School for the Blind, we all had key locks. That is all for this video. Sorry it was long. Sorry I rambled a lot. I have
Many stories.
so much to tell. So I want to do a dedicated video Q&A about Gallup's retirement. So how should I do that? Actually, maybe the pinned comment will be asking for questions about Gallup's retirement, and just in the regular comment section, let me know what videos you want to see about the School for the Blind next. Thank you guys for watching this. Again, click up here if you want to see the first School for the Blind video, and click over here if you want to see me style Crocs into cute outfits for a week. Okay, love you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.